The call for rain has been answered, but what about August? Are we going to see some summer sunshine this August? Plus, we talked to the lovely Peter Gibbs. You'll recognise him from the telly. Plus, he knows all about heat pumps.
And we all want to know about the heat pumps. Hello and welcome to Square Raindrop. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steff Gaulter.
And Steffi. You did say the call for rain had been answered. That was quite a deluge over the weekend, was it not?
Depends where you are, Arjo. Here, we just saw some useful rain. It wasn't anything particularly extravagant. But other parts, was a little bit more elsewhere, shall we say? Lincolnshire, where you are. Some places reporting 60 millimetres of rain, 62 in Lincolnshire. Some parts of Sussex, 55, Aberdeenshire, 76. And Northern Ireland, 69, which I was surprised to hear was their highest ever July rainfall on record.
That is a bit strange. I mean, July should be a drier month anyway, but 69 millimetres doesn't seem like a huge amount.
No, and it's their third for any month. Their third rainfall rate for the day for any month. I was surprised by that.
I think they've been sneaking in some good weather, but the rest of the week's looking a little bit dodgy, isn't it?
That's right. We've got this swirling thing over the top of us. It's going to bring us heavy, thundery showers. Gradually, the showers slightly less intense, less angry, and then the whole thing kind of chugs away towards the east and things will calm down. Looks like Friday should be okay.
Is something special happening on Friday?
No, just that it might stop raining.
But even though we've had the rain, it's not that cold. Look, I'm even in a t-shirt. It doesn't happen very often.
What's gone on? I don't know what's happening. But just to give you an idea of how not too bad it was here, I went into a field on Sunday to watch, it was the Food and Drink Festival in Winchester. And we had Blue playing. And I thought with all the rain that it might turn into a little bit of a, mud bath. But it was fine. Ground still hard underfoot.
And I'm searching through the Rolodex in my mind. There's a title for a song. Blue? When?
How can you not remember Blue? They were big in the day. I remember back in the, when would it have been? 90s? Yeah, All Rise.
Well, I look forward to that. I'd like to say that I've had an equally good time, but in fact, my dog had something called a fly strike.
Your dog? I thought hedgehogs got that.
Hedgehogs? No.
Hedgehogs get fly strike.
Sheep get them. Get them.
Gosh.
Hedgehog? You could be right. Anyway, it was a bit touch and go, to be perfectly honest. Only kind of realised that there was a problem. And then after that, I had to rush her to the vet, get her into the hospital.
Hang on a minute. Is this your dog that's the size of a small horse?
That's the one. Yep.
And it's been attacked by tiny flies and they nearly won.
I don't quite understand how a fly strike works, but it's something to do with matted fur and then flies lay eggs in it and it all becomes really quite nasty. So yeah, she needed surgery. She had to stay in hospital overnight. It was really, as I say, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. But luckily it was caught early and she's going to be okay. But that was a bit of a worry. Yeah.
Gosh, yes.
Right.
And those things kind of sneak up on you when you're not. Oh, the dog's a bit lethargic. Oh, the dog's really lethargic. They happen quite fast, don't they?
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. So luckily, because it's been raining, she's been inside, which is what I was asked to do, keep her inside. I mean, she's not the kind of dog you tell to do anything. She pretty much does what she wants.
Yeah, that's nice. I do what she told me.
Yeah, and I can't move her. Wherever she is, I can't move her. But for the time being, whilst the weather's unsettled, that's great, she's inside. But we have got early signals of things becoming very settled.
Well, yes, but as you know, Jo, I do like to take a very large pinch of salt, maybe truckload of salt with my long range forecast. But because there's no major global driver telling us what the weather might do, we're kind of looking at what's most likely, really. So it looks like for at least some of August, we'll have a high pressure in charge and there will be some settled weather for the parents to enjoy. And when I say the parents to enjoy, I mean open the door, send out the children, shut the door behind them.
I might just invest in a pair of shorts. I know it's rash, I know it's risky.
You heard it here first. A weather presenter is buying shorts. That's how confident she is in the forecast.
Absolutely. Well, we always like to enrich our weather experiences. And so with us today, we've got Peter Gibbs, who was formerly with the Met Office, now retired, but he's also been part of Gardener's Question Time, which is one of the longest running programmes on Radio 4 ever. And he's going to talk to us about some of his top weather moments and also his heat pump. Peter.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the heat pump. Yes, because I'm a big fan of green energy, and the heat pump has been a huge success. So I'm glad we're going to get onto that, Joe.
Oh, we definitely will. I was going to have one, and I realised just how much ironwork was needed in my house as a retrofit.
Okay.
And at that point, it was like, I'm not sure about this anymore. Anyway, we'll come back to the heat pumps because that, bit like vacuum cleaners, is one of my passions. No, but you've obviously had a long career in weather. Some of your top weather moments.
Yeah, long career. That just means I'm old, I suppose. But yeah,
No,
retired
wise, not old.
Wise.
Wiser
Okay.
here.
Yeah, well, I'll take that, Steff. Yes, thank you. And of course, we shared a fair bit of that career, didn't we, at the BBC Weather Centre?
Did.
Which I was there for just about 20 years during the latter part of my career. I don't miss the shifts, I have to say, getting up at 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, it's hard work, isn't it? Yeah, people always think as a weather presenter, you just kind of swan in there, somebody does all your makeup, then you wander into the studio, you wave your arms for 3 minutes, and then you go home again. But the truth is somewhat different, is it not?
Isn't it just? And come COVID, there wasn't even anyone to do the makeup for you either. You had to do that yourself too. Yeah, which was obviously the largest part of my problem. No, there's an awful lot of looking at data and remembering it because you've got to know more than anyone else, or you might as well not be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And 10-hour shifts and non-stop broadcasts, it's hard work, but really very rewarding as well. I really enjoyed that part of my career. But actually, it all started the Met career way back in the early 80s when I was appointed as a meteorologist for 2 years with the British Antarctic Survey and spent 2 years living and working actually in Antarctica.
Was that your introduction to the Met Office then? Hello, welcome to the Met Office. Now go to Antarctica.
That was British Antarctic Survey rather than Met Office. I joined the Met Office when I came back from that. But yeah, that was certainly my introduction to meteorology, going out doing the weather readings every 3 hours, sending up a weather balloon once a day, and all in temperatures, well, in the winter down as low as -50 at times.
Wow.
I bet weather forecasts were a bit tedious, weren't they? It's chilly.
Weather forecasts were pretty tricky down there. Although you always knew it was going to be cold, of course. That was a bit of a banker. But it was an amazing experience, an amazing place. Very isolating, particularly back in the early 80s, because we had very little communication with home. Just a 200-word telex message once a month, would you believe?
Oh, so my goodness.
Yeah. I know.
There are mothers across the UK trying to book their ticket there now.
No.
Yeah, I don't think my mother was all that pleased when I announced that I was actually going to go and do it because 2 years is quite a long time. But yeah, it was a phenomenal experience. I absolutely loved it.
Is it the same or similar to as it is now in that everybody kind of is in the same, like it's essentially a giant dormitory with a canteen and not much else, or is there something else that I'm missing?
Yeah, basically, no, it was 15, 16 people cooped up in what basically was a tin can actually back those days, because the place was built on a floating ice shelf, which is like a big slab of ice about sort of 500 feet thick. But anything you put on the surface, because the snow never melts, gradually gets covered by snow, which accumulates year on year on year. So they built huts inside a steel tube to withstand the pressure of the ice as this building gradually got buried. And it was about sort of 15 meters, 40, 50 feet down by the time I got there. So you had to climb down this shaft, down these ladders to get into the base at the bottom. 15, 16, all blokes, because they weren't so enlightened back in those days and just thought women would cause trouble down there.
Yeah, we do, to be fair, Pete.
Yeah, well, to be fair, yeah. And 15, 16 very smelly blokes as well.
That's the real reason there weren't any ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
Peter.
Yeah.
We didn't want to go. So is it the same building that's used now? Because if it was that low then, You know,
Yeah.
what is it now? Is it sunk?
No, in fact, the building that I lived in broke off in an iceberg and drifted away
Oh,
about 30 years ago. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
unfortunate. Was anyone in it?
yeah. No, 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 no. It'd been long abandoned before then. But no, the current base was designed to get around that because it's on the surface, it's on skis, on jackable legs. So as the snow builds up, you just sort of hook it up, drag it away with tractors, and put it back up onto the surface again. It's
That's
a really, really
genius.
clever design. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
And they had to
brilliant.
move it a few years ago because there was a big crack appearing in the ice shelf, so they had to drag it the other side of that
Oh,
so
gosh.
that it didn't drift away on
Oh,
an iceberg.
yeah.
So
Phew.
yeah.
So, oh gosh, that sounds a little bit scary. Tell me about gardener's question time because I know that's one of your favorite things to do.
It is, yeah, yeah. I'm a very keen gardener. I wouldn't say I'm a fantastic gardener, although I have had a few compliments for the garden over the years, and certainly working on that program is useful because I get free advice from all the panelists. But it's a really iconic show. It's been going since 1947 on
Gosh,
what was
just
the
after the
home
war then.
service. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, started even before me. 1947. And it's been going ever since then. Every week on Radio 4, gardeners either send in their questions or we go to village halls across the country, uh, rock up. It'll be some gardening society, like it's the big highlight of their whole existence, but Gardeners Question Time turns up. Three panelists, me as the chair, and we field questions for 45 minutes. And it's just really, really good fun. And it's a
It's all
great
right,
mix
Peter.
of
I listen. I listen. Steffi
oh,
doesn't. She prefers 90s boy bands. But that alongside the Archers, where I learn all my farming stuff, yeah,
yes,
definitely
yeah,
GQT is a one for me, and I've
yeah,
learned all
yeah, yeah,
about it over
yeah.
the years. I'm also
Fantastic,
bullshit gardening.
fantastic. Well, but we have a lot of listeners who aren't even gardeners, but they just like it. It's a bit like the shipping forecast. It's comfortable.
It's
Uh,
soothing.
yeah, exactly that, and there's a bit of humor in it as well. It's a really nice thing to do, and I've been doing that for what 20 years now, unbelievably. Where does the time
Wow.
go?
That like all forecasters, you must have had some calamitous moments on air.
Well, yeah, I mean we've probably all have them, haven't we? I think probably the worst one was when I was just about to do a Countryfile forecast, which was definitely, I mean, the Countryfile forecast was like the biggie, wasn't it,
It
of the week?
was. It was. They were marathons.
Yeah, 3.5 minutes. You had to get quite technical as well. You had to be aware that it was an informed audience. So quite a big deal. And it's live, of course, it's unscripted. So it's quite a big build-up. That was the one I used to get properly nervous for, I would say. Um, but 3.5 minutes is quite a long time. And it's even longer if when you press the button for your graphics to start and nothing happens.
Oh
You can't
no.
just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, can you come back later?" Because you're in the middle of a live program and you're live and you've still got 3.5 minutes of weather forecast to fill.
Oh gosh, I
So
feel terrible for you, Peter, just recounting this tale. My stomach's gone all
yeah,
funny.
I could. Yeah,
Palms
you're
have gone
feeling it.
sweaty.
You're feeling it. I know. I know. I know. So basically, I just had to talk for 3.5 minutes, and it's amazing how much of the story is just in your head. I mean, the graphics are there as a prompt, and obviously, it's for the viewers to help tell the story. But I just kind of clicked into automatic, and off I went. It probably wasn't a terribly entertaining broadcast.
More
I've
of
heard it said.
radio.
I've
Yeah,
heard
just
it
like
said
radio.
that the viewers that day really appreciated your tales of your holiday in Cromer.
No, they got a proper weather forecast. They did get a proper weather forecast. The other moment I always remember, and it wasn't actually on air. It was when I was working. I did a few years at Norwich. There used to be a Met Office weather centre at Norwich back in the sort of late 80s into the early 90s. That's where I started doing the TV, in fact, on BBC Look East and a bit of local radio as well. But I'd been on the TV the previous night, and it was a bit like we've had recently, where it's just been so dry and so hot, And everybody who's a gardener or a grower is thinking, when on earth is it going to rain? We're desperate for rain. So I'd gone on that evening, and it did look like we were going to get better rain that night. So I said, oh, fantastic, gardeners, farmers, we've got a bit of rain coming along at last. And the forecast went wrong, and
Oh,
it just stayed a
no.
little bit further east, and it didn't happen. So I was just on my normal shift at the weather centre the next day. We used to take phone calls from the public. You could actually phone up the weather centre and ask what the weather was going to do. Amazing. And I picked up the phone, and this guy said, I've got a complaint. I've got a complaint. Oh, sorry to hear that. That Pete Gibbs, that baldy Pete Gibbs, last night on Look East said it was going to rain last night. And do you know what? I haven't had a drop. I haven't had a thing. It's not good enough. My allotment is dying on its feet, and it hasn't rained. I had to make a decision at that point. Do I say, well, actually, you know who you're speaking to?
Yeah, did you tell him?
No, I decided to stay anonymous. I stayed anonymous and tried to point out that actually it wasn't our fault that it hadn't actually rained. We didn't make the weather. We didn't stop it raining just to annoy him. It was just the forecast that actually went a bit astray.
Did you nip down there with a watering can later in the day?
Secretly the next night, yeah.
It's amazing how often we're held responsible for the weather, when in fact all we're doing is saying what it's going to do or not do. But tell us about Huracan. What Huracan?
Huracan. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. 1987, Michael Fish moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. I did actually overlap with Michael Fish for a while, and some of the lates and greats like Ian McCaskill as well. It was they were fun characters to work with, I have to say. And actually, nobody should ever feel sorry for Mike Fish about that forecast, because it was the absolute making for him. He dined out on it for years afterwards with his after dinner speaking engagements and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously one that sticks in the mind of any weather forecaster who was working at the time. But I kind of, in a way, I missed it. I was actually working in the Outer Hebrides, forecasting for an army rocket range up there, which is still going, I believe. And so I'd gone in to do my early morning forecast. I used to go in and do a forecast at 6 a.m. just to set them up for the day ahead. And I sort of drew up the chart and drew all the isobars, and I thought, I'm having to draw quite a lot of isobars in the south this morning. But it looks a bit windy down there. But never mind, because actually up here it's going to be a glorious day in the Outer Hebrides. It was going to be flat calm, because it was to the north of the storm, of course. Beautiful blue skies, absolutely no problems for them. And then I went back to the officers' mess where I was accommodated to get some breakfast, and the TV was on, of course. I thought, oh, oh, this is a big deal. Something's really going on down there, isn't it? And I was actually due, because I've been posted up there for 12 months, but I got a trip back every 2 weeks to go back to Cambridge, where I was living at the time. So I was due to travel back that day, which of course didn't look very likely at that point. All the phone lines were down, so I couldn't contact my partner to see what was going on. Fortunately, the flight did actually turn up. We used to have to fly to Glasgow and then down to Heathrow. I got to Glasgow okay, had to wait quite a long time at Heathrow. But then the flights restarted later in the day back down to Heathrow. I got on this Boeing 777. And back in those days, you could actually ask to go and visit the cockpit during a flight. That's how long ago it was. So I kind of made myself known. I'm a meteorologist. I'd be interested to have a chat to the pilots about what's been going on. Oh, yeah. They say, come up and have a chat. So I went and had a chat with them. And they said, oh, why don't you sit in the jump seat and stay there for the landing at Heathrow, for the little seat behind the pilots. Oh, yeah, fantastic. And I'll never forget flying in over southeast England and looking out of the side window, and you could just see it was like matchsticks everywhere. All the trees just lying down here, there, and everywhere. It was just incredible. And the landing as well was really
Yeah.
quite hairy because it was pretty windy. And the captain was like this with the control column and started swearing. And I thought, ooh, this
That's a
doesn't
bit
sound good.
lively.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we got down and I did manage to get back home. But yeah, it was quite an experience. But I was one forecaster that definitely wasn't in the thick of it.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, that one date sticks in the memory like that. Well, it seems like you've been quite a few places, but now you're nice and settled. Please do tell us about your heat pump.
Oh, heat pump. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a big advocate for all forms of green energy. Being a meteorologist, I'm very conscious, obviously, of the climate change issue and what a huge issue it is. But also, I like to kind of spread the word that green is just better anyway. Green energy is just better anyway. It works better, it's more efficient, and it can actually be cheaper as well. We've had heat pump for about 2.5 years now. So we had a standard gas boiler before that, normal sort of central heating, just radiators around the house, which is nothing special either. It's a 50s built detached house, normal double glazing, cavity wall insulation, the usual stuff in the loft. So, not super insulated by any means. So there was a slight anxiety, I must admit, particularly my wife. Is it going to be warm enough when we get this thing put in? That's a common question.
I have to say, Peter, that's what people ask, isn't it?
Yeah,
When you said it's cheaper and it's better, I was thinking,
yeah,
is it? Because lots of people do sort of bring up the won't warm your house enough. You'll be
yeah,
cold in winter. So you
yeah.
find it efficient then?
Oh, it's better. It's better in every way. It's been at least as cheap as gas, cheap, the same sort of cost as gas, probably a bit less, and particularly less now that we've also got solar panels and a battery as part of the mix as well. So particularly, just kind of outside the winter, so coming into spring or going into autumn when it starts to get a little bit chilly, or even during the winter when it's a sunny day and you still need the heat pump on during the day, the panels are actually providing a fair bit of the energy that's running the heat pump. So you're not drawing anything in from the grid, or the battery is charged up at a really cheap rate overnight, and that's running the heat pump for a few hours as well. So it's costly to install, but you soon start kind of getting some money back from that. I've probably halved my energy bill in the last
And,
12
Wow.
months.
and how
It,
responsive is it? So, I mean, we've had this run of really warm weather at the moment, but
yeah,
if suppose, I mean, not that it would ever happen, don't hold me to that.
yeah,
Temperatures got to freezing tonight, and you suddenly
yeah,
go, I want some heat tonight.
yeah.
Is it responsive?
Oh, yeah. Within minutes, it's as quick as a gas boiler. What you tend to find is it's just more comfortable because it just kind of simmers. So whereas with a gas boiler, it's bang, I'm coming on, I'm producing loads of heat, I'm producing a load of heat, the temperature goes up, thermostat cuts off, and then it starts to come down again. So it's kind of, you get this sort of thing with your temperature. With a heat pump, it just comes up to temperature and then it just kind of sits there and just ticks away and just keeps everything just nuts. So you get this really nice, just even warmth through the whole house if it's done properly. And I think that's probably the issue that some people have had, particularly in the early days. Installers weren't really up with it, didn't know how to get the best out of the system. You do need somebody who really knows what they're doing because it runs at a lower temperature through the radiators. So there's a fair chance that at least a few of your radiators may need uprating, just basically making a bit bigger. I think we had to have 3 radiators changed, but then they reused some and moved them from one room into another room to save having to buy a new one for that room, if you see what I mean. Uh, you mentioned about ironmongery in the house, and yes, you have to have somewhere to have a storage tank because unlike a condensing gas boiler, it can't produce instant hot water. That's the only place where a gas boiler perhaps has an advantage. You have to wait a little while for the water to heat up, but it'll still produce plenty of hot water. It just takes a little bit longer to do it, and you have to store it in a tank. So you need a bit of space for that. But that can go in the loft or It can even go, if you've got a garage or an outbuilding or something, it can go in there. So there are ways around it. But yeah, we would never ever go back. It's been a huge success. But do your research and find an installer who actually really knows what they're doing, can do a proper survey of the house and specify the system that's actually going to work in your property.
I used to live abroad and we had a heat pump in the villa out there. So I'm very open to the idea of heat pumps.
Yeah.
But there's been an initiative, Clayton, around where I live, government sponsored, where they come in and pretty much put it in for free under certain conditions. And that's a solar panel, those are the solar panels, the radiators, the heat pumps. And so a couple of my friends have had it done. They've not been that impressed. And I think maybe stories like that do circulate, turning people off the idea, even though they're getting it, for virtually nothing. But the point you've made there is that, first of all, research and also pick a good company to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard similar issues with those sort of schemes. I think perhaps the problem is that you get a number of companies bidding and they basically go for the lowest price. So there's a lot of corners are being cut to produce something that they can put in cheaply to get the business. And it just doesn't work like that. You can get away with it probably with a gas boiler, but with something a bit more complicated like heat pump, solar panels, it needs somebody who knows what they're doing, and you probably do have to just spend that little bit more.
Just out of interest, do you have anywhere in your house with underfloor heating? Does it work with underfloor heating?
It works best with underfloor heating. We don't, unfortunately. We've got concrete floors through the house, so it would have been a huge upheaval and expense to actually go that direction. But yes, it actually works best because, again, with that just nice steady temperature, it really does keep the house extremely comfortable.
That's very interesting because that was the deal breaker for me. If I lose my underfloor heating, I'm going to go and sit in a corner, a cold corner, and and the only way they could replace the underfloor heating was with, I think, approximately 6 meters of horizontal radiator and 2 6-foot verticals. And I was like, that is starting to look like an awful lot.
That sounds like a retrograde step, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, technically, I don't know. There may be issues around your particular underfloor heating, whether the diameter of the pipe is suitable. I don't know, but it's definitely worth exploring. And if they were doing new build, most good installers would recommend going for underfloor with a heat pump rather than anything else. There's also, of course, the option of air to air. That's air to water heat pump. Air to air is basically like an air conditioning unit, which can run either way. The disadvantage of that is you have to be able to pipe the air around the house somehow, or have a unit in each room. But the advantage is that you can use it in the summer to cool and in the winter to heat. But it's maybe less compatible with the way we do our housing in the UK, which is a shame because it's a perfect solution.
I think it's fair to say that all these systems are going to become better. The technology will become more finessed over time because it is the way to go forward if we possibly can. Now, as a final question, I would like to ask you, because we have this sneaking suspicion that when a weather forecaster says he's retired, he means nothing of the sort, because you're still looking at those charts, aren't you? You've still got the radar up first in the morning. And we do this because on our days off, we do the same thing. Yeah. You never leave it behind, do you?
No, you've nailed me there. Yeah, absolutely. You can always tell a meteorologist because when they walk out of a building, what's the first thing they do?
Yes.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah. What's going on? What are the clouds doing? What's coming next? Yeah.
And I find if they walk out and it is raining, the first thing they do is to check the radar, check when it's going to stop, how long it's going to be there.
Last. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love Windy. I'm on there every single day.
Windy's really good.
Yeah, having all that data at your fingertips. Yeah, you've got me.